this is your, can you see this? Can you see the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how many of these, what's the first one? Yeah, hi, come. Okay, yeah, some of you, what is that? You all had a late lunch or something? Okay, good. Okay, good. So there's some more coming in. The classroom is now overflowing. Okay. Controllable. Good. Is that all, or some more of you? That's all. That's all. Okay. So now go back to your WhatsApp, and I've uploaded a form. Start working on it. And because you came late at 1:45, 1:47, we'll have to work till about 5:30. Where's it? It's between a working clock and a non-working clock, which is more perfect?
Non-working, sir. Non-working.
Yeah.
It
So
always shows you the same time.
who is that? Who is that? Sandhya, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So Sandhya, the clock here says 1:49. So I think we are right. Okay, go ahead, but quickly do it. We have a lot to cover, and I want you all to start working on it. Okay, let's not bother about this clock. The time starts now at 1:39. Give you about 10 minutes to work on it. It's a smaller team in class today. I don't know how many of you are online. There are about 21 of you. That makes it actually 20 minus 1, 19. So start looking at this cryptic marketing puzzle. I believe that you should be able to answer some of the questions. Let's see how many of you have begun to answer it also. These are the earlier responses, I guess. Yeah, yesterday's responses. What about today? Are you able to follow the questions, or are you finding it tough? Yeah, that's the whole idea, right? That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea.
So, sir, I just started with that. I don't know what is you want as answer or not.
I mean, I want the full. It's unique to each one of them. So write that unique thing
that
about
thing.
you. Let's pull out some names and 23. Chaitra, hi. Are you filling in the form? I guess Chaitra is on mute. Anybody else need some help on the form? The best time to ask me. Another few minutes, or we can go into active mode right away. Vijit?
Sir.
Yeah, you know the answer for the first two?
I'm just gauging it. First thing you write in a form, which form that I'm not.
Which form? In a form. Okay, in a Google form. Or any form for that matter. The first thing that you write in a form is what?
Okay.
Okay. And what's about the second one? What's the second question?
Where is your position?
Who said email? Yeah. So what's the answer for that?
So look, I think it's social media.
Okay, which I mean, in a serious form, do you want to put your Facebook address or which address do you want to put? I guess you want to put your email address, right? Yeah. So that's what, isn't that what you do with every form so far? You put your name and your email address. First one, you got it correct, but that's okay. Why? Right. So, and I'm getting distracted by this clock now. Okay. Okay, let's do one thing. I'm not assigning you marks for this, so why don't you guys just drop it and let's discuss it out. So the first thing that you fill up in a form is name, fame. I mean, let's understand what is this. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to make it as cryptic as possible, but it's completely a marketing activity. So the second thing that virtually at where do you stay is that's your email address. Most of you would put Gmail or your official email or whatever that is. What's the third one? Far-sighted, long-sighted, and purpose in life. What are we talking about?
Vision.
Vision, then?
Vision, mission.
Mission.
Mission, objective.
Right. Those are the three words that I wanted from you, right? Vision, mission, and objectives. Very good. Then what is it that we wanted? Then in this world, in this new world, don't fill in, doesn't matter. I'm not going to, I'm going to, in this new world, parents are not as important as children. What are we talking about? Okay, maybe one more attempt you can do. Normally somebody wants to say something.
Previous product doesn't matter. What you offer and the current scenario most matters. What is derived out of your history matters.
Okay, Vijay. Normally, in a cryptic puzzle, I can't teach you how to handle cryptic puzzles, but at least in my puzzles, you need to pay attention to capital letters. So how would you read this sentence? In this new world, P is not as important as C. Now, what does that mean? P
Product.
Customer.
Okay, so
Product to customer. Product.
products are not as the 4 P's are not as important as the
Customer.
4 C's. Make sense? Yes or no? Okay, I take it as an yes. Okay, then the third one or the fourth one, I don't know, whatever order that is. Dhoni said to Scott Adams, very rarely I open the innings. What am I?
VRIO. VRIO.
Okay, very nice. Who's that? VRIO. Who is VRIO? Sandhya. Sandhya. Okay, but Sandhya, you got the first half of it. What is the second half? You got the second half of it. What is the first half of it? Scott. What is Scott? SWOT analysis. I told you that the new language is not to say weakness, but to say challenges. Very good.
Oh,
So you,
okay.
good, Sandhya. Well done. And then you have the fourth, fifth, whatever. It doesn't matter which order. In McKinsey's farm, 2 animals stare at the sky and question each other. What are we talking about?
Competitors?
What is that?
Competitors?
No. Cash cow. Which are the 2 animals? Cash cow and dog. And then when you stare at the sky, what do you see? Stars. And then the last one is?
Moon.
BCG matrix has got what? The answer is right there. Dog. No, you can't. You can't question yourself. Yeah, there you go. Okay. But why did I say McKinsey's farm? Because if you don't use BCG, you can use the McKinsey's GE matrix. Okay, so you got the answer? Okay, good. Well done. I mean, who? Well done, Ramesh, or well done, you? Okay. This one. This should be easy, right? Bazaars have sewage treatment plant. What are we talking about? What is that? Where are the capitals here?
Yes,
B bazaars can also be known as markets.
market.
Then what is STP?
Segmentation target position.
Okay, so you got that? Did you get it? Okay. Then the okay, all of you, are you following it? I just need one yes.
Yes.
Yeah, online. Are you following? Sandhya, are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'll tell you why am I doing this whole cryptic thing. What's the next one? Now it's very easy. Guess my question. Very rarely those who see the maps know how to go there. What is guess my question? What are the three letters?
GMQ.
What is GMQ? MBA student. You need to get your terms. I can't create magic all the time. I can't create magic in every class. Is there a term called magic that you learned in Gardner's? Okay, so GMQ stands for Gartner's Magic Quadrant. What are the two quadrants of Gardner's? Ability to visualize and ability to execute. Yes. Who are visionaries? Visionaries are those who have a great vision, but they don't know how to execute. Leaders are those who not only have great vision, they also know how to execute. That means there are people who know how to read the maps, but they don't know how to go there. But very few people know how to read the map and also go there. Okay, so you get that? This should be the easiest. Don't trouble me by saying you don't know. 7 wise men, including the wicket keeper, are sitting together. What is being referred to here? You're all working on your assignment too, by the way.
Personalities, initiator, decider.
Correct, correct. So where are they? What is it called? What is that whole thing called? The personalities. Buyer, wicket keeper means gatekeeper.
Yes, super.
Okay.
The buying center. Got it? Okay, no problem. Now, finally, the last one. I guess this is the last one. What is this? Bigger the box of chocolates, more the camshaft power consumption. I don't know where I got this idea, but yeah, what does that mean? What are the three? Bigger the box of chocolates. We discovered something in our class. If there are more chocolates, what do? Why do companies offer you bigger quantities of soap powder? So what is that? What are the three capital letters here?
Become.
CAM. So what does that stand for? Consumption adjusted margin. We talked about it, right? Consumption adjusted margin. Okay. So the idea why I'm trying to make it so complex and I'm doing it at the end of the class is that if in your life you go looking out for words like Scott, looking out for words like VRIO, you will never find them. These are all terminologies. You must find these terminologies in a normal sentence that you read. Nobody is going to come and tell you that, boss, we are doing bad because we have our weakness. We have a solid weakness. Or nobody is going to come and tell you that we don't have a uniqueness in our solution. The ones who are going to give you the information, you as a manager and you as a management student, and eventually as somebody who is going to be heading the organization, the people who are going to give you inputs are not going to be as literate as you are. You're going to have people with lower understanding, people with lower education, probably telling you and giving you some inputs from the company, for the company, problems that they are facing. They make, it will be very cryptic. It is for you to break that, to be able to understand what is it that they are actually trying to tell you. So I hope it was a meaningful exercise, and hopefully we have moved ahead. Now there were one more that I had asked you, and this is section B, right? Short sheet A to Z, will it work? I guess. Did it work? It didn't work, I guess. No, I know.
Add filter, go to data.
I do it. I mean, I'm not that bad.
You want to
I know,
filter all these
you're right.
Yeah.
By column, not by column A, by column B, right? By column C.
Yes.
Sort A to Z. It should work, man. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, but this is more like doing it on. So I had asked you, how many of you have done that from section B? I see quite a few of you. Any of you here from section B? Any names that I want? I know there was who is here from how many of you have filled in this form? What's your name? Prashant what? You probably one of the first guys who you filled it up, no? Right? So Prashant, you did a good job. You were very right when it came to. Wait, let me get rid of this nonsense. Okay, I think I'll do a refresh. That should do it. Okay. The question that was asked, one question that I asked you is, how has the definition of marketing changed over the last 3 months? That was only for me to understand how much of you guys have actually learned it. It doesn't matter what your answer is. The second question that I asked you was, you are sitting in some obscure location in some remote part of your office. Do you believe that you have a role in marketing to play? And I guess that is one learning that all of you learned in the class, that some of you actually said, I have nothing to do with marketing in the very first Google form that you filled in. And now hopefully you understand that everybody, every individual is a face of the company and has to market himself or herself correctly. The third thing that I asked you was, if I can get that right, the third thing that I asked you was, why do management gurus believe that B2B marketing is more important than B2C? What is the answer for that? And I think Prashant answered that very well. And what is that answer according to you all? Don't look at that sheet, but then what do you think is the answer? Which one? Continuous business is one that some of you answered. And again, B2B is more personal because they really want you to connect. And those were some very good answers that I got. Then there was another question that I asked. And on that, I was a bit disappointed by your responses, which was basically products have life cycles. I don't know. Can you all see it well? The products have life cycles. They are born, they grow, they mature and die. Who decides the phases of the product life and why are they important? Most of you jumped up and said product life cycle, product life cycle. But actually the product life cycle is already defined by me. But what I was looking at is using the BCG matrix. Yeah, right? I mean, who decides which is a star? Who decides which is a cash cow? The company decides. And the customer decides. The customer decides. So many of you haven't done it very well, but some of you have actually responded quite well. That is good. The other one is, which again, I think you missed out even in this question here. Why aren't great ideas always turning out to be great products? Why is it? I have some some 10 fabulous idea. I think I can change the world and I can be a billionaire. But why am I not able to do it? What is the reason for that? Why? What is that? Yeah, because we just discovered on the Gardner's Magic Quadrant that every great visionary is not necessarily a great performer, right? So that's why you may have a great idea, but if you don't know how to convert that idea into valuable money, you might end up doing well. Then the other question that I asked you was, why do absorbing stories give better sales for the company? What is the answer for that? Why do absorbing stories give greater sales for the company? Absorbing interesting stories. A story, I mean, we've seen a lot of ads, we watched ads. Some ads you don't forward them, right? Some ads you actually watch them. You don't mind, even if you're watching on YouTube, I think I'll watch that ad because the ad is very interesting. Why? Because it connects with you. Somewhere along it is telling a story that you are a participant in that story. For example, there are a lot of these stories which come about teenage children fighting with their parents and all that. My wife likes to watch that because she's connecting herself with that mother and her son with the person in the ad. So it's most likely that she might buy that product because you are telling a story that is very, very cleaner and nicer. There is one story which is coming out, which is the father is trying to feed the son something and he bites into it and the sauce falls on his shirt and the son is trying to explain to him how it works. So that ad doesn't interest me because I don't have a kid that young. But my neighbor finds that ad very interesting because she has a kid that young. So every story will only connect to us. That is why companies which give better stories make better companies or they make better money. You've seen that good marketing can actually give you good money. Then this is the one I thought was very important. The world has matured. We no longer fight for a bigger slice of pie. You understand what it means, right? We're now very mature people. We are not like our great grandfathers. We are not like our ancestors 200, 300 years. We are not fighting for a bigger slice of the pie. We often work to increase the size of the pie. Let's all work together. Let's increase the size of the pie. And even better, bake a cake for ourselves. So what is it? What is the message that I was trying to tell here in terms of marketing? Yeah, so we are not too worried about market share. We are trying to expand the market. And sometimes if this market is not interesting, we'll go to another market. If there are 3 companies fighting for delivering South Indian food, then the 4th guy wants to serve North Indian food. So not only do you're no longer worried about the size of the pie, you want to increase the size of the pie. You want to go into different markets and all that. So hopefully, when you sit back and look at these responses, I'll share these responses, you will be able to get into it. But now let's get into what we have for today's discussion. For today's discussion, this is done. We have 3 topics of discussion. One is branding, other is global business, and then Porter's 5 forces. Let's begin with Porter's 5 forces. Maybe that's, I started in the other order somewhere else, yesterday's class. Let me take a new order for today. Stop share and share screen. Porter's 5 forces. Okay, it works. Perfect. Okay. Now, why do you think companies do badly? One, we have understood why do companies do badly. If I were to ask you today, you are most likely to tell me that because they have a different segmentation, because their pricing is wrong, because they don't want to distribute it correctly, the message is not correct. All of that I don't want to hear, because I have taught you that and we're not going to discuss. Now give me new reasons why companies don't do well. Which one? Strategy also discussed. Over. No more strategy, Chatterjee, Banerjee. Okay. Right. Banerjee here, right? Okay. So now what else could be the reasons why companies don't do well? Wrong projection. Over. All discussed and closed. Hmm? Old practices means what? So if they are not updating to the current market, what is wrong? What is happening? No, hang on. You're saying old practices. They are not adapting to new practices. Then who is adapting to new practices? Yeah, so one of the reasons why a company can do bad is because a competitor has, she give you part of the answer. You gave part of the answer put together. So competitors have something that they are able to give and you are not able to give. Okay. So one is companies do bad because of the new entrant into the market, right? There's somebody else coming in. Or so there are three of you, you are sitting, we know that, right? Airtel, then what is the other company? Idea, no, not Vodafone. Oh yeah, Airtel, Idea, Vodafone was sitting, nice, cool life. They were enjoying nice time. They took the market for granted. Then one fine day, one guy came. Right? He's not different from you, right? He is like Mr. Airtel only. What is the difference between the two? Only thing, you were lazy, you took the market for granted. A new market comes in and kills you. So you gave me the first answer. What is it? A new entrant can damage the sector, throw the company out of business. And all. What is the second reason? Competition is just what we discussed. Then no more are you going to use. Give me a different reason. All of you. I'm looking at him, but that doesn't mean you all have to look at him. Right?
Disruption.
New. Okay. No. Rework on that subject. Yeah. Who is that? Sandhya?
Vijay.
Vijay, yes. What is the other reason why companies don't do well?
Disruption, not adjust to the disruption.
What is that? Your
Disruption.
Disruption.
Yeah.
What is disruption?
For example, one company is only handling, earlier it was only the pager. Now the pager didn't, but they were not able to guess that there's another technology which will overtook them.
Okay, so he almost gave the answer which I was trying to write and indirectly help. What's your name? Preran. I was saying, yeah, so there could be a completely new technology coming and throwing you out of the market. You were thinking about it, right? But you didn't want to. Yeah. So why? Why did you not say that? Completely. Godrej was known for typewriters. And they're bindas life they were having. They should have come out with printers. Right? They were the ones who should have come out with printers. Kodak, which is known for camera, should have been the one which would come out with digital cameras. So one is competition, a new entrant can come and kill you. The second is technology can come and kill you. What is the third one? I still got 1, 2, 4 plus 5 forces. So there are 7 of them, right? 5, huh? Okay. So, what is collaboration? Maybe, but yeah. Those guys online have an option. They can go type on the Google, find out what are the quarters, 5 forces, but they are not doing it yet. Okay, so what is the other one? We got how many we got so far? Oh my God.
Environmental changes.
Thankfully, the clock is not working, so we can go on and on. What is that?
Environmental changes. Suddenly.
Environmental changes. No, I guess so. Not really. What is happening to the fuel price? Why is it going up?
Crisis.
What is a crisis?
Demand and
War
supply is
between Russia and
What has war got to do with fuel prices?
supply will change. For example, Russia is one of the major supplier of the fuel, but he is putting all his fuel to the war.
Yeah. So okay. So he's saying Vijay today is I think had a very light lunch. He's very active today. Good. But I had a heavy one. Okay. So Vijay, wow, can you I was busy listening to them. Can you restate, because you have exactly stated what I want as an answer. Start.
Yeah, see, for example, geopolitical changes like war. If the war is there, then a nation will put all its resources to the war.
Vijay, now you are modifying your answer. You stick to the Ukrainian war, and you mentioned BPCL. I want the same lines to continue. Yes.
Okay. Because Russia is the supplier, one of the major supplier of the oil, and it is putting all its oil to the war.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good job. So what he's saying is, one of the threat is competition. The second threat is technology. The third threat is the supplier not supplying. What can you do? I mean, BPCL is doing very well. They have actually chosen their petrol pumps at the right places, the right where you want to fill them up. No supply, right? The pharma industry today in India is struggling because the source material has to come from China, and China is under lockdown. So it's nobody's fault, right? It's an external issue. It's nobody's fault. I have no technology issue. There is a supplier who is not going to supply. Okay. Now listen very carefully. Vijay, especially you have to listen very carefully. For you gave me the most good answer on what is the third reason I said? Supplier. Okay. Now, Vijay, use your intelligence, and all of you. If the supplier is having a problem, is choking up, why is Russia worried? And that should give me the fourth answer. Russia is saying, I'm not going to supply, but Russia is also worried. What is the other worry that they have?
It's a fall of income for them also.
Yeah, Vijay, think exactly on the lines that you are thinking. What you are saying is also correct.
If we are not supplying, then our economy will fall down.
Why? Okay. What is the other reason? What is Russia's fear? Yeah, so that is almost like the fear of substitute. That is one answer. But I got the fear of the supplier. So here, what could happen with Russia?
Their companies could fall down because they cannot sell.
Who is their biggest buyer? Who is Russia's biggest buyer? Europe. Now, what Europe says, I'll stop buying from you. Now, what will happen to Europe? I mean, what will happen to Russia now? Their economy. So, another reason is the power of the supplier, and the second is the power of the buyer. So, we got all four of them, right? Which is, what are they? Competition or threat of new entry, threat of suppliers, threat of buyers, and threat of substitution. And there's a fifth one, unfortunately. What do we do with the fifth one? What is the fifth problem that we have? With the fifth reason why industries get into big trouble.
For example, earlier laptops and computers were in demand.
Yes.
Because the smartphones are not capable of doing certain things.
No, that widget is substitution. That is substitution. We have discussed that. The last one is a tough one for you. The last one is rivalry within the organization, within the sector. The people in the sector don't like each other. Like the airline industry, they don't like each other. They're fighting with each other all the time. and nobody is making money. So there is infighting going on in the sector. The consumer benefits initially. Initially, that is what was happening in Jio versus Airtel versus Vodafone. A lot of infighting going on. Initially, it was a new entrant. The new entrant came. Now these are fighting with each other. All of them are boxing each other. And we are enjoying because we are saying, hey, look, we are getting the lowest prices. But what is happening is the whole industry can just collapse because how long can they bleed? Eventually, the big war between Flipkart versus Snapdeal versus Amazon, Snapdeal had to shut down because they couldn't match the challengers, the 30% discount. You know what's happening on the food thing, right? How many companies have closed down? Food Panda, Fresh Menu is because they're sort of infighting. Each one is fighting for a market share. You following me or no? No. Is there? Okay, so kind of I thought they were gone. So you know quite a few of them who have gone and disappeared. So that is the other fighting that is happening. So now what are the 5 things that we got? One slide, I haven't moved through the slide at all. One slide, which is called the Porter's 5 forces, which is here, is these. Competition, new entrant, buyers, suppliers, and substitutions. Okay. So competition, in this case, we are referring to inter-competition. Competition with, we're not talking about the competitor. We are talking about infighting that's going on. Now, let's look at it in a more nicer way. Let's look at it here, right here. What are these? Threat of new entrants, bargaining power of customer, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, and competitive rivalry within the industry, right? Both industries, you know what happens, right? If both of you are fighting with each other, you'll just kill. Like if there is a war, they used to say Iran versus Iraq, they fought a war for 20 odd years or something. Eventually, there will only be 2 citizens fighting with each other. So at the end of the day, you kill yourself, right? Now, if you have learned very well, now the question is, how do you stop a new entrant? That's what is our business, right? The threat, if there is a threat of a new entrant, how do you stop a new entrant from entering it? What do? You buy them. Okay, fair enough. So you constantly modify your product. You stay ahead of it. What else can you do? You upgrade the product. Yeah, but still not convincing. What else? How do you? Come on, yeah. I mean, you guys don't be so good. I know you guys are dirty guys. So how will you fight a dirty war? You try to? That's too much bad. So you're almost there. You're almost there. I'm making this conversation light so that you will never forget it in your lives. So you're right. So no. What would you do even before that? Think of it. You're right. You're exactly thinking, but you're not thinking exactly the way you want it. No. Rivalry within the industry. Threat of new entrant. You will somehow stop him from entering the market. Correct? You will stop him from entering the market. But how? How do you stop somebody from entering the market? How do I assume that I'm standing for election. I
try to enter their market.
That's not the point. Just think about it. How do you stop any other company from entering a new sector? Make the entry barrier very high. Meaning that, let's say there are 3 airline companies in India, which is Indigo, Jet Airways, and Air India. Now, Tata wants to come. Tata is a bad example, but let's take for a moment that Tata is not a famous company and it just wants to come in. So what do? These three will join hands together to ensure that the fourth guy doesn't come in. How? They will work with the government to build all conditions which say that it is not possible for them to come in. If you remember, when Kingfisher came and when Indigo came, it said that till you have completed 10 years, you cannot do international flying. So why is such a condition put? The condition is put using the connections in the government so that Kingfisher and Indigo does not compete with Jet Airways and Air India, which is already doing international flights. So what do is you form a club or you join together that is exactly work together within the industry and make it very difficult for the new guy to come in, right? Make entry to the market very, very difficult. Now, if you look at any business for the matter in India, look at any business. You want to do e-commerce? Who are the big players? Tata, Reliance, and Ambani or whatever. They are the ones. You want to do telecom? Who are the guys? Tata, Reliance, they are the ones. Cement, who are they? They are the ones. In any sector, you will always notice that the big guys are the players. Why? Because that is why the Indian startup is struggling, is because the Indian startup is not allowed to compete in a big player field. Let's say the government of India says that we really want to modernize all our computers, or we really want to bring up a new version of some software for our consumers, like a new Arogya Setu app or something. The first thing they're going to put condition is that you must have performed with the government for the last 5 years. Your company should be 10 years old. Your company should have done 500 crores of business. Your company should have whatever. But how will my company ever have that? I'm a small startup. So the government should open up even for smaller startups. Otherwise, these guys will form an industry group and I will never be able to enter that market. So that is what is happening in most of Indian business. There is a group which is forming and stopping others from entering into the market by making barriers of entry, by bringing in government regulations so that it is just not possible for you. I mean, technically, I should also do business, right? I mean, now that is why you see most of the startups get stuck and the big guys buy them off. You should allow new guys to come in. Whereas in the US, it's much better. In US, a lot of governmental business, the big guys are not allowed to enter. If there is a business or a governmental order for, let's say, $1 million, they will say that the top 10 companies are not allowed to enter into this business. This business is for the smaller ones to grow. So you understand what is happening. One is you're scared of the new guy, but then you join hands together and do not allow the new fellows to come in. So that is what is called the license Raj. If guys join hands together and make sure nobody comes in. So that is the threat of new entrant. If you understood that, let's go back to the second one. Bargaining power of the customer. Are you following me? Yeah. So bargaining power of the customer. So the customer is saying, give me a better price or I'll go somewhere else. So what do you do? Because he's a very, very powerful guy. So how do you as a supplier ensure that he doesn't go anywhere else? Yeah, that's maybe one thing you would give free. What else? How else would you ensure that your existing customer doesn't bargain too badly with you? That is over. That part of the discussion is over. Now, how do you get into it? What is that? Yeah, so you start improvising on the quality of the product so that the customer continues to appreciate what you're doing. What else would you do? Payment terms. Okay, that is good. Flexible payment terms. Good. What else? Hmm? Correct. Then what else? Most importantly, you would make exit expensive, meaning that if you move out of this contract, it will going to be expensive for you. So what do you do if you look at it? A lot of us, I don't know how many of you fly very often, but if you fly very often, you get what is called flying miles, right? Emirates gives you miles, Singapore airline gives you miles. They give you miles. Why do they give you miles? Yeah. So, but you know what? Of late, I noticed that the other airline, Turkish airline flights are very cheaper. So I am tempted to go by Turkish airline, but I will not go on Turkish airline because I want to create my own miles. So it's going to make exit very, very difficult. So when you make the exit very, very difficult, or you have signed a 10-year contract, so it doesn't matter what happens, you will not be allowed to move in because you have a 10-year contract. So that is two things. Where was that? That was this bargaining power of the make the cost of switching very, very high. It's not easy for you to switch. If you switch, there's going to be a lot of problems that are going to be there. The third was fear of substitute, right? What is fear of substitute? Or the threat of substitute? That means somebody else comes and there's an option available to you. Yeah, so that is the typical is I've been using the auto rickshaw guys used to earlier say, whenever I ask him, do I want to go somewhere? He would say, sorry, sir, I'm going somewhere else. But now he's more than happy to come with me because there are lots of options available to me. If you don't do that, I'll book an Ola auto. If I do that, there are many options. But that is understanding the threat of substitutes. But how do you stop the customer moving to a new substitute? How do you stop him from going from you to another guy? Better service is one thing, but what is the other challenge? It's a pure B2B challenge that you would face. Is that the new substitute will not be compatible with the services that you deliver. You have been delivering some machines for him for the last 10 years, and now the customer says your price is very high. I have this new technology that is coming in. The technology is very cheap. I will go to him. But sir, that technology is not compatible with the technology that you have already installed in your company. You have 20 of these machines and you want to buy this cheaper machine. They don't even talk to my machines. So when there is an incompatibility issue, if you've noticed that it's very difficult for us to move from iOS to Android. It's virtually impossible. Why do they do that? It's very easy to move from Android to iOS, but it's very difficult to move from, because they are saying that once you're stuck with me, I'm not going to allow you to move. So much of a painful thing. It happens all the time. You may have a different type of a connector. You may have a different type of interface. Where is that? Here, right? This is the bargaining power. Yeah, you might just have a different interface. Your company is giving a different kind of an interface to the or a front end, a GUI, which is different. And then you bring some other system, the compatibility issues. It's always the whole industry is very flexible. Yeah, but what do you mean by changing? It's changing. Everyone wants to have a common platform and which are compatible. Like if a product or service is not compatible with existing but once you enter, but why? I mean, look at my phone. Look at this. The Apple phone it just uses a different interface to charge. Yeah. So why is it? Why is it? He just wants to make it very, very tough. And I mean, I'm exaggerating. I paid 2,000 rupees for the charge. So now 2,000 I paid. So let me have the next iPhone or next as an iPhone because I have already paid for it. That's true. I have. You don't. Once you get deep into it, the threat of substitute seems very easy, but it's impossible for you. Lots of companies took a long time to move from typewriters to printers because they had hundreds of trained staff. So yes, I agree that printers and computers will make life easier, but it's not easy to switch. It's very, very difficult to switch. And they're going to make it even more difficult for you to switch because they'll bring in for certain other complications to it. Then what is the other option? We had bargaining power of the supplier. We just discussed bargaining power of the supplier is the supplier saying, sorry, I don't like I don't like your face. I'm not going to supply you gas or whatever that is. So what is the other option? Very simple. You go look for other suppliers, or you come up with a new technology altogether. That is exactly what happens in this case. What is new technology? The bargaining power of the supplier, I'll come up with a new technology. I'll say, okay, we will work towards having solar plants. We will look at another alternate. Now, I don't know how many of you know what is shale gas is. When the cost of oil became very high, shale gas became an alternative way of producing or pulling out gas, which was expensive. But when the fuel price itself became expensive, it became a bit of a challenge. So that is a bargaining power of the supply. What is the last one? Competition within the rivalry. That means if people are fighting with each other, the companies will die. But what happens when they join hands together? Why? They demand, they fix the price, they are the commanding position. Why are they commanding? But why? What happens when the industry?
Because there are no
You're
one-
perfectly right.
There are no one to serve the customer. There is no competition.
Because the competition has united. Because the competition has united, there is no rivalry. We are actually friends, but we are acting as though we are enemies. We are actually friends. That word, what is that word called? Can any one of you give me a word in which competition unites? What is the word for that? Another word similar to. Any of you online, can you give me the word? It's called cartelling. The word is called cartelling. Cartelling is when all of these competing companies join hands together. And if you look at it, cartelling is happening right in front of your eyes and you don't know it. Try booking a bus ticket from Bangalore to Hyderabad. They might be the worst of the enemies. I don't know, what are the companies? KPN versus, I don't know, SRS. But their prices are all very similar. Their prices are always very similar because they join hands together and ensure that they fleece you as much as possible. It happens all the time. This is, you can't see this very well. There's a company called De Beers, which is the largest diamond company. They make everybody unite under their umbrella and they hike up the prices of diamonds. And airline industry is always cartelling. The drug industry is always cartelling. Drug industry, they look like they are fighting, but they are actually united. They're the thieves of the highest order. They do it. But we haven't discussed too much in length in other classes. Again, these are too much of conversation, but I'll tell you what. The condition for cartelling is that there must be one big leader. There must be one big leader and number of small players. In such a situation, for example, OPEC, you know what is OPEC? OPEC, oil producing export oil, something like that. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries or something like that. Okay. So what they do, Saudi Arabia is the biggest. So, and everybody else is smaller guys below him. So Saudi Arabia manages the cartelling. He decides what is the price of the fuel. So Porter's 5 forces, we're done with the chapter. Porter's 5 forces says that there are 5 elements in a business which could affect any industry's performance. These are threat of new entrants, bargaining power of customers, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, and rivalry. Okay, I hope you guys are able to follow it. There are lots of slides for you to read. Each one of them have an example. They give you a contradictory view. And then, of course, there are more information for you to read as to what each of these are. I'll not get into too much of detail. It's for you to read it. Any questions on this before we move to the next chapter? What is the time now? 2:30. Okay, we can take up something else before we move that. You'll normally in class, you'll get anywhere between 10 to 15 marks on Porter's 5 forces. So if anything to ask me, go ahead and ask me now. Guys online, are you following? Vijit,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sandhya, yes. Okay, now so we move to another chapter, and that chapter is called, any idea what the chapter is? You make out?
Branding.
No, it didn't work. Stop share. Okay, so now let's take a bit of a break. Do you know these companies? You know all of them? Which one of them you don't know? I guess you must supposed to know all of them. Penguin, hey, Penguin is what? Who is here? Let's say who are the quieter guys? Bhargava, Chinmaya, Nalini.
Linux, sir.
Yeah, which one? Linux, Adobe, Sandesh,
Pepsi,
Srijit.
Hyundai.
Hyundai, where's Hyundai?
Toyota is there.
It's Toyota. Pepsi, you have Pepsi as
Toyota
well.
and
Is that
Toyota and Hyundai.
Microsoft?
Yeah. Okay. What about B1? B1.
B1.
B1. B1. The company name also
Boeing.
starts with B.
Boeing.
Perfect.
Boeing.
Very good. Very good.
Adobe.
Okay, Adobe. Well done. What about this?
BSNL.
Asian.
Asian Paints, BSNL.
Titan.
Asian Paint.
And then there is
What is hang on.
Hindustan
What is
Petroleum.
C3? C3.
Post.
Indian Post.
that is Post, Indian Post.
B1. B1.
Indian Post.
B1.
B1. IRCTC. Yeah,
B2 is IRCTC. What is B1?
That's for flights.
So what is C1 then?
B1 is ITC.
Both are ITC. Yeah? C1 is Welcome Group of ITC. Yeah. Then what is B1?
That is Indian Airport Authority. Recent one.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Good. Of course, you know everything. What is B5?
Colors.
Colors, sir.
Colors. Okay. What is C5?
Aadhaar.
Aadhaar. C5. C5. You don't know C5?
Canara Bank.
What's that?
This is
C5.
B4.
C5's company taught for 18 hours in front of you. Okay. It's impossible for you to know C5. I purpose, huh? Yeah. So I purposefully put it there saying that just because there is a logo, that doesn't mean you identify. Whereas every other company, by the sheer logo, you are able to identify it. But some companies just by logo is impossible. It's my company. I guess it's a minuscule of a company in front of everybody else. But so all of this brings you to the topic of what is called branding. Branding. Branding is probably the most exciting part of any marketing business because it gives you all the glamour, it gives you all the fun, it gives you all kinds of entry into it. So what we are going to do over the next half an hour, 45, 50 minutes, or whatever is time left, is to understand what is branding. Look at this. More and more brands. Even if you're standing so far away, I'm sure you know what this sign is. And the sign is designed so that even from afar away, it creates appetite. But not for me because I ate the same company's food this afternoon. Okay. And I'm regretting it at the moment. Okay. But so what is a brand? And let's discuss a little bit about brands and look at why branding is so important and what are the ways to look at it. So what is a brand? How does branding work? What are the advantages of a strong brand? What is brand equity? What is brand equity? I was wondering what is brand equity. I think I made a mistake here. Brand extensions, evaluating brand extensions. Okay, anyway, what is a brand? Yeah, guys, online, this is our last 1.5 hours. So let me identify you by your voices. The quietest of you, unmute yourself and answer. And the existing one, continue to do that. Yeah. So what is a brand? Brand is a name. Okay. Can?
Customer can get attracted
Or become repulsive. Yeah, obviously, right? I mean, some brands I may not like a certain brand, right? Just because that is there, I may not even go there. Yeah. So what else does a brand? What is the advantage?
Brand can a name or a value or design by which we can distinguish from others.
Okay, brand enables the company to distinguish itself from the other, right? Yeah, you're looking for a brand logo somewhere, then you feel comfortable. Then you say, oh my God, this has got this sticker on it, so I'm happy. Okay, how does branding work? We'll talk about it. But what is the advantage of a brand? Why should you have a brand at all? What is the advantage? By just a brand, you can have repeat customers. What does that mean? This is what you're looking out for? Yeah. So okay. A brand can attract customers. What else?
Yeah.
Sometime emotional attachment.
Yeah, not sometime. Most of the time, you're right. Most of the time, it's emotional attachment. Yeah, you know that, right? It's all brand value. What is a brand value?
Relationship with customer loyalty.
Brand can bring in customer loyalty. Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay.
Recognition.
Okay, so you're saying there's a better quality and hence there's a better value that the brand brings in.
It also helps for product positioning, like product branding and all. Product positioning.
Okay, you brought in many things. Revisit your answer in the last 10 seconds. You might give me another one. See, what are the advantages of a good brand? Quality, you get customer loyalty. You said repeat customers. Then somebody said something else, revisit and all that. But one magic word I haven't got. Trust is a magic word. Okay, good. But that's not what we want. What else? What is that biggest advantage of a brand?
So feeling.
And they'll add it to
Customer
like some
satisfaction.
What is that? No, no, repeat it. You could be noisy and I may not have heard you. Just repeat it. Recognition is okay. What's the advantage of a brand? Still coming back to you with that question. Okay, I'll just tell you what I told in the last class. It kind of was just incidental and I found it very funny. And so I'll try repeating it. So I said, all your answers that you've given me on the brand is like, no, hang on. Is like, do you know Krishna had, what is the wife of Krishna? Rukmini was the wife of Krishna, whereas he had a teenage date called Radha, right? So what happens in the when he gets married to Rukmini, she decides to donate to the god equivalent weight of gold. You know, if you go to a temple, they do it. So this Rukmini starts putting gold after gold after gold, and still the scale doesn't tilt. And finally, you know the story? What happens? Finally, Radha comes and puts one tulsi. Just like that, all your answers on brand, these are like the pieces of gold of Rukmini. You haven't given me the tulsi answer. Okay, so what is that biggest attribute of a brand? Think about it. She's saying, I'll go to Van Heusen and buy. She's saying, I'll go to Armani and buy.
It's a prestige.
Creating loyal
Brand can demand themselves.
Brand can
What
demand.
is brand value?
Company valuation.
What is the biggest advantage? I'm not going to leave
Credibility
you.
of the company.
Okay.
Sir, is it the quality?
So how does quality translate to anything good for the company?
Positioning.
How does loyalty translate anything good for the company?
Positioning.
How does market share compare good? What is the objective of every organization? So what does brand give you?
Constant.
Wrong.
Brand positioning.
Increase valuation.
Okay, I'm giving you the brand gives you a better price to a competitor. If a bottle of water costs 20 rupees and you say this is a Tata's mineral water, you're willing to pay 35 rupees. If you said pricing, I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you, but that's the fundamental advantage of a brand, right? I'm looking at Van Heusen and I say, wow, I like a Van Heusen shirt. And I know it's a Van Heusen shirt. That's why I'm willing to pay another 2,999 for that shirt. Yeah. So if you said price, good job then. So that is it. What is brand equity? What is equity? What is equity? All of you trading in equity. What is equity? Brand itself has a value. And what does that mean? I don't know how many of you are watching television like the way I do. You know, there's a new brand of air conditioners and a new brand of refrigerators. What is it called? What is that? Kelvinator. Is that a new company?
No, very old.
Kelvinator is a very old. In her house, she had a Kelvinator, and then it disappeared. Now, why is it come back? And why did the ones who started that brand or started that company name it as Kelvinator? Because that brand had a lot of lingering memories. That brand itself had value. That brand itself had value, right? We will talk about it later. Tell me when it's 3 o'clock so that I can take a break. Oh, there's still time, right? Oh, excellent. Okay, perfect. So let's look at attributes of a brand. This is what it does. And staying relevant without the core strengths. Perfect. Then brand identity. You know what's a brand identity? It gives you a name, it gives you shape, colors. We've discussed all of that in great length. And brand positioning. The most important is how do you position your brand? Okay, there are hundreds of companies and hundreds of things who do the same product. But how do you position yourself? Look at something as simple as a bottle of sugared water. That's what we like to call it, right? We don't want to call it by any other name. But you look at it, there is Coke and there is Thumbs Up. I guess the ingredients are just the same, right? Unless and until you really want to dispute, the ingredients of both of them are just about the same. But how are they positioning themselves? They are saying that if you look at the guy who is advertising for Thumbs Up, is a young guy who is into all kinds of macro image. He's probably fighting 100 enemies or villains, and he's able to jump from the highest mountain, and a lot of demonstration of manliness coming out of that particular ad. We look at Coca-Cola, it's a more subtle, more nicer. There's a lot of romance or their family feel attached to it. So the question is, every company wants to position themselves somewhere. They want to make sure that the message is very clear. So I know that typically, do you expect a man in his 60s to buy himself a bottle of Thumbs Up? Very unlikely, unless he's lost his head. Yeah, so because he's still whereas you expect a guy who is probably going to the gym, finding himself ultra fit, is the one who's likely to say that I know there's uniqueness about this Thumbs Up because I connect with it. So what Coke is trying to do is Coke is trying to enter the homes of the families. So they saying that celebrate Diwali with Coke. So they're trying to get in there. They're bringing in family values. They're bringing in family goodness and things like that. And that is how they're trying to bring in there. So that is one way of you positioning the brand. But look at Red Bull. Red Bull is very simple. I'm not going to get in between this battle. I am not going to be compared with Coke or with Coca-Cola or Thumbs Up. I am a completely different league. Maybe to a large extent, even the composition of Red Bull might be just about the same, maybe a small variation of content, but he wants to position himself very, very different, right? He's going to say, I'm going to give you the post hangover effect, or whatever, or that feel good factor, or the morning 7 a.m. feel good factor, or whatever that thing is. That's the image that he wants. So every brand wants to position themselves so that there is no confusion in how you identify yourself. Once I have positioned myself, I know exactly where to project myself. I guess I would like to put an ad for Thumbs Up in front of KGF2 posters, because I think there's a lot of connect between that. But I might want to, or what is that, a movie called Hum Saath Saath Hai and all that stuff. Coca-Cola would be a better fit to it. Yeah, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham and all that stuff. Okay, but again, similarly, if you look at all the car companies, and we are not naming them, we're just sticking on to logos. Each car company is sending you a message. What are they saying? BMW is saying, I'm expensive. They're making it very clear. I'm expensive and sporty. If you remember, we discussed about consumer dissensions. If you remember the example of breakfast versus fine dine versus washing machine versus buying a car, expensive itself is a selling point. Expense by default is a selling point. You take your wife to a jeweler shop and ask her to decide between the 55,000 rupees versus 75, it's going to be 75 all the time, because more expensive gives you greater comfort, right? That is what it is. So BMW is saying expensive versus sporty. Mercedes is saying, yes, we are expensive, but we are conservative. We are not. So you see, they're again positioning themselves as somebody who's you're most likely to see a guy in a suit driving a BMW, driving a Mercedes, or you would like to see a more younger guy. Right? These are just viewpoints. Hyundai is saying, I'm inexpensive, but I still have a lot of style in my vehicles. Maruti might say, I'm inexpensive and I'm reliable. That is what each of them are trying to. And in this battle, Tesla is standing out very differently. Tesla is very clear. I don't want to get involved in all this thing. I am a different league together. Yes, and people are not going to go evaluate these companies and buy Tesla. No, people are going to buy Tesla. They're going to buy Tesla. That's it. They are not going to look at. Whereas somebody wanting to buy a Honda might compare all other companies. So you understand where the positioning is coming up. So that is what is brand positioning about. Then we have the role of a brand. The role of a brand, as you rightly said, identify the maker. Just by putting up that logo, all of you jumped up and said, that's Linux and that's Amazon. And some of you believe that it's a reminder for me to switch jobs or whatever idea that came to your mind. So these are all what the thought of just a logo does, right? I don't know how many of you know this. You can't see it very well. It's called 916, which is the hallmark logo for gold. So at the end of all that, the gold that I'm buying, I want to make sure that mark is there because I know that's a mark of quality. It's a mark of quality. That's probably what everybody knows these, right? I mean, I don't have to discuss. Does anybody know this brand? Huh? Telstra. Okay. Anybody else? Which is this brand? This logo? This logo disappeared actually.
Tez by Google.
Tez by Google. What is Tez doing? What is Tez?
Payment.
Payment and transferring money.
Payment.
Yeah. So Tez is a payment gateway. Yeah. Right. Recall. Yeah. So why you're not aware of it? Very good. If Google would be very happy if you don't remember. Because but why? So we all agree. Okay, let's come to a conclusion that this is the payment gateway of Google. It was called Tez. So, but why did Google call it Tez? It's fast. Okay, what else? Why other Google products are slow? No, I'm asking you. Okay, and then why did they throw it and replace it by Google Pay? What is the answer? They started off with Tez, and then one fine day they said, hey guys, I want to tell you that we're replacing it with Google Pay. Why? But then why did they start with it? So you're almost getting there. You're almost getting there. Why did they start with Tez and why did they end up with not having it? Anybody online want to give some ideas? Because brand logos are very, very powerful. And a bad mistake could give you big trouble. Somewhere in term three, you will discuss a topic with another professor. That topic is called, I'm just forgetting. Yeah, ways of entering into an international market. Ways of entering into a market and how do you handle it? I just briefly talk about it. How do you handle an international market or any market for that matter? I have a company, I have some brilliant company called, okay, let's say I own McDonald's. That's it. Today, overnight, I've just taken over for the next 20 minutes. Yeah. And I wish I could 2 hours back, then I would have to pay for the food. Okay. So what happens is McDonald's wants to expand into 100 countries. How do they do it? What is that word that they do? They franchise. So what is franchising? Franchising is allowing somebody to use the name and the logo. Yeah, and to a certain extent, that's the simple part of the story. The more complex is that will share with him the process, will share with him the secret sauce, will share with him everything else. But why do you want to franchise? Is because Starbucks is franchise, Dunkin' Donuts is franchise, McDonald's is franchise, Subway is franchise, possibly. Is that the moment you walk into any store in any part of the world, it will look similar. Point number one. You will be greeted similarly. They'll all wear the same kind of clothes. They'll put on the same kind of artificial smile on them, and they'll do everything very similar. And then your menus are same. You know how it works. In any subway, you know how to go through the process of selection and come out and do that. Great. But what is the disadvantage of franchise? What is the disadvantage? Quality might differ from purchase to purchase because you're managing 10,000 stores remotely. And I'm trusting you as the franchisee owner to behave yourself properly. So what happens when you don't do a good job? Brand image collapses. Nobody says, actually, they found a cockroach in a McDonald's burger. Then the next day's newspaper will not say, the franchisee of McDonald's called so-and-so in their outlet, there was a burger found and the franchisee owner so-and-so was caught. No, the big headline is going to be cockroaches in Mac. That's it, as simple as that. So if you understand that part of it, Google has a fantastic branding in India. And virtually Google has a great branding in most other places. Google's attempt at getting into the payment gateway was one of its first attempts. And they were attempting in a country which is extremely dear to them. Extremely. And I mean, I could go on and on but then I'll be tripping into class 2, 3 of your training program. Is that there are only 2 markets today, and actually the market is also one market is already dead, which is there's only one market for e-commerce, which is India. Every other market is gone, occupied or settled down. China and India were the only 2 big opportunity markets which were there. And China is a very regulated market. It's impossible for new company. Even Google is not allowed in China. You don't even use Google. You don't even use GPS. You don't even use WhatsApp. Oh, I'm having no Google Maps, no Gmail, no Google search. The WhatsApp works, but if and they want to do WeChat, I have a big problem. I do a lot of meetings with WhatsApp doesn't work regularly, and they have WeChat, and we don't have WeChat. That's the biggest disaster that I'm facing, is because we're not able to connect. So again, back to Google. So what happens is Google has a great branding. Do I want to spoil my brand? No. It's a different story that Google tried out with Google Glass, Google Lens, but that was a very small scale experiment. Lots of Google products have failed. It's not that Google products have not failed, but they have failed in mostly domestic markets and not an expanded market. And e-commerce is big thing, right? That's the biggest battle. And now Google Pay has even overtaken Paytm. They're probably number 2 or 3 in the whole thing. So what Google did was test the market with taste. There are many versions to it. But since we are talking about branding, I'm giving you this version of what Google did. Is a test out with it. So if something goes wrong, it's a brand that's killed and just forgotten, and Google might want to come back with that. But luckily for them, it turned out to be a great hit. They did the right combination of strategy and approach, and overnight they changed taste to a new brand which is called Google Pay. So you understand the importance of brand, and especially talking about brands. I was among the first of the few guys who was involved with HP when they came into India. So they wanted to set up an office in India. The conditions for setting up an office in India or an office elsewhere is very complex. They want to make sure that HP at that time was a fabulous company. They're not doing all that well today, but they're a fabulous company. They wanted to make sure that the HP office is not near a restaurant. The HP office is not near some noisy area. The HP office is not nearing a retail mall. It should not be nearing a mall and all that. There were a lot of, because they're worried how the brand is being projected. It's all the time, it's about the brand. So the role of the brand is very important. The other is, what's the time? 3 or 2? Okay, one more and then we'll move on. This is one line that I was struggling to get you with. It gets you to provide premium pricing, right? I'm sure you agree with me that you're willing to pay a little bit more. And I don't know, who was that? Was it this class or the other class? Where the discussion is, what is the difference between West Side and Trends? I don't know if this class we discuss or some other class we discuss. We believe that in Trends, the clothes are not that good compared to West Side. It's a question of branding. How are you positioning yourself as such? So you obviously can demand a premium. You demand a premium, right? You are willing to pay $50 more for a cup of coffee in Starbucks compared to Cafe Coffee Day. But does your tongue identify the difference? Honestly, I can't. But if I said that, they wouldn't like it. So I would rather go pay $50 more and have it. So let's stop here. Let's take a 10, 15 minutes break. Come back, finish branding. Then we'll do business as war and we are done. Okay. We'll wind up possibly a few minutes before 4:30. So guys, 304, 315, 317, let's gather up. Best input from the customer is where? Best input is in service department. The service department is the one which gives you the greatest input from the customer. Because the service is department is where the customer comes and tells you, I have this problem, I have this issue, this valve is failing regularly, this motor is not working regularly. And so this will be a constantly now, most of the companies are saying, we must make every service engineer understand the importance of marketing and get your data from there. Because that is the biggest source of data where the customer is going to open up. Actually, I remember one particular instance. There was what was called a TVS Champ. I don't know how many of you know that TVS Champ. Okay, the TVS Champ was one of the first vehicles that came out, and it was very unique. That TVS Champ, the silencer was not very well designed. Okay, the silencer. So what used to happen is, if you look at the women who drive, they don't have, and if you know the TVS Champ, it's got a pedal. So you either keep your leg on the pedal or you keep one of your leg behind. So what happened was, my wife has had this habit. That was long back. I'm talking about 89, 1991 kind of a story. But she used to keep her leg a little back, and the silencer was kind of a little protruding that it burnt her leg a little bit. So we went and complained that there is this problem. What can we do? Of course, they gave a guard and solved the problem. But why I mentioned TVS was a very agile company. They actually asked us, why did you ask for this guard? Till that time, this idea did not come that we need a guard over. They got inputs from the service department that the customer, especially ladies, are complaining that their feet are getting burnt because of that particular issue. So marketing from a service department, like you rightly said, is so very important, like the project guys, is because you are so much connected with the customer. The customer will open up with you so much in detail that he'll never open up with anybody else. He'll come up with hundreds of his own personal problems. He'll come up with problems with his boss. He'll come up with his issues in delivering, manufacturing. So those are the very important. But anyway, let's get on with it. Role of brands, that is done. But now, is it possible for us to give structure to branding? That means to say, can we get this particularly right? There are 4 ways in which you can build a brand. One is called extension. The other is called product. Third is called endorsed. And the fourth is called monolithic. Now, what are these? Let's keep an eye on the clock. Not this one, of course. 3:25. So I have an ad to play. And that's why branding is good. You can do all kinds of funny things and entertain the class. So now let me go back to new share. Okay, I guess you can see it.
वैसे खन्ना तेरा वो लंदन ट्रिप कैसा था यार? What a fantastic holiday यार, मजा आ गया. Did you go to Madam Tussauds? Oh, it was fabulous, I tell you. How was the weather? Raining? हम अब 2 दिन बाद बाहर थे. And those Indian restaurants in London? Oh, भाई साहब, Jaguar lights लग रही है.
So
The largest bath brand in the country now also brings you the magic of light.
So we've seen this ad. I don't know if you could listen to the audio, but doesn't really matter. Where's this here, right? So stop share, new share. Which is the one? Here is this one. Yeah. So what did that ad tell you? What is that ad? Jaguar is famous for their. Yeah, and now they are introducing
Electricity, light and all.
lighting equipment. So what are they doing? Why, what is this got to do with branding?
They are already famous.
Yeah, so they're so famous with the word Jaguar. It's associated with, and if you know it, Jaguar is not cheap.
Yes.
You really have to pay through your nose. And so they are confidently building on that painstakingly built brand called Jaguar and introducing what is called a lighting. Now, lighting has nothing to do with plumbing, right? I mean, they're actually enemies of business. Imagine you have both. I mean, you have the whole building, you could get electrocuted. Yeah, so there are two ways in which brand can be expanded. One way to expand the brand is, let's talk about brand expansion first, because I put you that ad. What this brand expansion says is that I have built a brand. That's a superb, lovely brand. Now I'm going to use this brand to do totally different things that have nothing to do with. That's what is brand expansion. What is getting into lighting, things like that. There are challenges to it, and that's the standard joke that I used to always mention in the class is that you must be very careful of what you do by brand expansion. Is that Harpic is a fabulous name in toiletry, but you can't get into toothpaste, right? Because you have a different definition. I mean, I brushed with Harpic. I guess it means a lot, right? Yeah. So you must be very careful of how you manage your brand. So that is very important. But a line extension is one in which you're doing almost similar kind of services, but you start expanding around it. One example is right here. But the other example, which I actually yesterday when I was driving back, I said the FedEx example is really not driving in. The example is Jio. Jio is a new brand that they have built in. So what did they do? Jio phones, everything associated with Jio, with anything on the network, anything on the mobile infrastructure is now called Jio something. Jio Mart, Jio Pay, everything that's got to do with it. That's line extension. But they are not calling it Jio Jewelry yet. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know what is the agreement between Anil and Mukesh. They may want to give up the Reliance brand. And that's why Mukesh chose the word big. I mean, not Mukesh. Anil Ambani said, I'll have big TV and big cinemas. They use the word big, whereas Mukesh used the word Jio. So both of them. So that is what is brand extension. When you take the brand to do something totally different and unrelated with what you're doing. Line extension is when you use it to do. For example, FedEx is delivering good for office. FedEx says we will do freight. FedEx will do express. But everything has got to do with movement. Now, for example, Dunzo. Now, Dunzo or Swiggy Eats. Swiggy, grocery delivery. What happened? You seem to be struggling a bit, huh? Okay. Yeah, no problem. So this is what is line and brand extension. Now, if you understood that, then this is an explanation for line and brand extension. Then you have what is called product. Then let me go full screen on this so that you understand it better. One other way to do it is that you don't give your name out. You still are Procter and Gamble or your Unilever, but you name different products of yours with different names. For example, there is Gain, there is Tide, there is Pure, there is all kinds of brands, but there's no association with the word Unilever, or there's no association with the word Procter Gamble. They just don't want to make that. The reason why they do it is if one brand doesn't behave well, they can just kill them. And nothing happens to the company per se. It's just you manage a brand. If the brand does very well, you promote it. The brand doesn't do well, you slowly kill it off and still come up with another one. So that is possible. For example, I never knew that Old Spice was probably a Procter and Gamble company or whatever. You may never know. And they don't want you to know it also. They want you to build around the particular brand. That is one way of it. The other way of looking at it is endorsing. You endorse. For example, Intel inside. Intel is endorsing. They're putting their sticker of confidence. I don't like this computer, but the fact that there is Intel inside, I'm buying. So that's what it is. So here they're saying, these are all different brands. Don't bother. Trust us because it's got the 3M mark. So that's the way. It's the other way around. Earlier, they're not putting up their name. Here they're saying, just the very word 3M should give you that feeling of comfort. It's a Tata Group company. That's the only thing you want to read. I walk into Ginger. I say, what is this Ginger Hotels? What kind of gingery thought feelings? I say, wow, Tata Group. Chalo, go. See, already some amount of trust has come into that fact. So that's why they have a Tata Group company. And they must be very careful when they use it, right? I'm not sure if Big Basket still has that logo called a Tata Group company. And it took a while before it became Tata 1MG, right? You want to make sure that you don't, the name Tata is so very important to them. The other way to do it is to go monolithic. The company name is the brand. There are no sub-brands. That's it. You want to have Samsung washing machines, you want to have Samsung phones, you want to have Samsung, it's always, there's no sub-brand attached to it. That's it. Every product is going to be called Samsung. They might have a serial number or a product number, which is different, but that's because they want to universally come out with that kind of a name. Like you have Mitsubishi, Virgin, it's always Virgin Mobiles, Virgin Aerospace, Virgin Airlines, and all that stuff. So that is one way to do it. That is monolithic. Then we have hybrid. Eventually, it's a combination of all kinds of things. I don't think you can see this very well, but if you look at it, Ritz-Carlton is also a Marriott group, but they will not associate themselves with it because they want to give that uniqueness. As a matter of fact, till I downloaded this slide, I myself didn't know that Ritz-Carlton was part of the Marriott bouquet of hotels. I thought Ritz-Carlton was kind of a very, very uniquely positioned. But you know, there are hotels like Le Méridien, somewhere I saw it here. Yeah, these are all kind of hybrid premium. So there are very many ways in which you can do a brand management. So I guess this is the last slide on brand. And yeah, and brand equity, of course. What is brand equity? Like we discussed in the last previous class, Kelvinator as a brand has value. And Kingfisher may be dead and gone, but the Kingfisher logo, yeah, gives you all kinds of memories of great feel. So that's what it is. Like Udupi, the word Udupi itself has become a brand equity. Especially there was a time when I would go to Bombay. I'm talking about much before most of you were born. So when I go and you say, Oh, there's a Udupi restaurant here in Andheri or something. Wow. Okay. So let's go eat there. Because that's got the branding. That's got the equity. The very word that you do it. So what happens? The guy who owned Kelvinator would have sold the brand for a value. That's what is brand equity. I'm bringing that brand. So what is it? What is it that Starbucks brought between the new coffee shop in India is a Starbucks Tata alliance, right? So Tata brings in facility, Tata brings in distribution, Tata brings in the coffee powder, Tata brings in the people. What does Starbucks bring in? The brand. The brand. They say, we will not give you anything, we'll just give you the right to use the brand. So that itself is equity. That is the power of any company will have. And if a company is great, they can do wonders with that brand. So with this, we are done with branding. Any questions on branding? I guess you're done, right? So we have one other subject, not leaving you, unfortunately. Hybrid, what happened? See, the general feeling is, what is brand? Brand is line extension, product or something. But in reality, it's a combination of everything, right? How do you want to do it? Like, let me give you an example. Ola. Ola is what? Ola is just a name, right? There was no brand before Ola. And why did they choose the name Ola? Because it was easy on your mouth. It just gave you a comfort feeling. I'm sure they didn't come up with that name overnight, or like the word like Yahoo or something. So now Ola is now painstakingly built that brand. So now you have Ola Eats, now you have Ola scooters, or now you have Ola Electric. So now what they're doing is they're building on that brand Ola all the way. Just like Google is doing Google Map, Google this, Google that, and book, all of a sudden they come up with Taze. Why? Because they're not very sure how the business is. Now, maybe Ola might now decide that we want to get into another line of business. Now, do they want to risk their brand, or do they don't want to risk their brand? Do they want the brand to be known, or they don't want their brand to be known? Sometimes some brands get into big trouble. I can't think of it, but some brands get into big trouble. Maybe the Sahara name is no longer a great name. So the guy might come back to business by some other brand. And eventually, because brand is good, brand is bad. So what I'm saying is all kinds of things happen in a company. They want to use their brand. They don't want to use their brand. So a hybrid is when you have a lots of products and some of them you choose to put your name. Make sense? Right. Yeah. So some of them are premium stuff. I don't know how many of you know Armani. You said you buy Armani. She got upset. I said you buy Armani, and she got upset. Why? Because you don't have the money. Okay. So now let's discuss Armani. Okay. So she's saying Armani is a great brand. And unfortunately, I cannot afford it. I mean, even I cannot afford it. But so what do we do? What does Armani do then? They are able to only reach out to 1% of the world's population, or even that is too long, too much, 0.01% of the population who can afford an Armani brand. But there is 99.9% of the people who are aspiring to acquire the brand. So what should I as a company do? Stay with that 0.01% of the market, or what is the principal motive of every organization? Growth, growth, growth. So how can I grow when I'm only addressing that elite class of people? But I don't want the elite class of people to be disappointed. So we launch a new brand with us as a sub brand. So I come up with Giorgio Armani. Now, what is Giorgio Armani? An Armani suit may cost $1 lakh. A Giorgio Armani might cost 50,000. So now I think she can afford it now at 50,000. But I still can't afford it. So what do? Now they have moved from the 0.1. The 0.1% are not unhappy because it's still Armani. The other people are happy because it's Giorgio Armani. But what about people like me? I still aspire. So they come up with Armani Exchange. Now, Armani Exchange shirt may cost 1,500. So what are they doing? They are building sub-brands and not diluting the primary brand. So if you look at my shirt and you'll say, wow, Ramesh, you got an Armani Exchange. You don't know the difference between Armani Exchange and Armani, and you may think I'm very rich. But somebody who knows, hey, this guy has bought a low quality guy. So that's what they are doing. Every company has to expand, right? You cannot keep quiet. So that is how they get different brands without diluting the primary brand. You get your point? Okay, good. Finally, let's get in. What is the time? I'm worried that we will overshoot. Oh, there are plenty. Okay, so let's the last one, which is, okay, you will get quite a few questions on this also. So please make sure that you're following me. And I'm here to teach you. Guys online, are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So we are down to this. This is, what is this subject called? The art of war. This is called the art of war or the art of business. What is war? War is about fighting with each other and trying to come up with a victorious over the other. Okay, but let's look at it. How many of you know what's a preamble? A preamble is a sentence or a mention before the actual statement, right? Right, you have that gives you an idea of what to expect. So a preamble is that what is the goal of every organization? You can see every organization goal is growth. If you don't grow, you die. That's it. You have to grow 5%, 10%, whatever is your desire. You want to grow 5%. Inflation is mandatory. There has to be inflation. If there is no inflation, inflation is not a bad word. Too much of inflation is a bad word. If there is no inflation, and what is the opposite of inflation? It's called stagnation or deflation. When there is no inflation, what does it mean? Why am I buying this phone today and not tomorrow? Because I believe that tomorrow this phone may become another 500 rupees more. So let me rather well go and buy this today. I don't have the money, she will lend me the money. That's what we discussed about credit. But if there is no inflation, I'm in no hurry to buy. It doesn't matter. I can buy it a year later. When everybody decides not to buy it today, then how will the economy grow? And worst still, if the inflation is negative, if I buy it 6 months later, it's 500 rupees cheaper. So no man is going to buy. If no man is going to buy, nobody is going to be employed. Nobody is going to manufacture. So inflation is good. Inflation is a fundamental thing. Similarly, growth is important. If a company doesn't grow, there's something wrong. It has to grow in terms of market share. It has to grow in terms of employees. It has to grow in the perception of the people. But how can you grow? You can only that limited number of population in the world. So I can only grow provided I step on somebody else's leg, right? I have to push somebody out if I have to go forward. So I can only grow if I eat into somebody else's business, right? How can I constantly keep expanding the pie? At some point, I have to grab a portion of the pie, right? It's good to say, I'll open new markets. It's good to say, I'll not bake pie, I'll make cake and all that stuff. So I can grow. So, and growing means I grow and she dies, or her market share I take up. She's not going to keep quiet. She's going to come and hit me back because it's my business. How dare you enter into my business, my customers? So that fight is going on all the time. All the time, companies are fighting with each other to get a better market share, a better control and all that. There are 5 ways in which they fight. One is called feint, one is called gambit, flank, onslaught, contest. Okay. The next slide, I want you to pay the best attention that you can, because that gives you the basic idea of our discussion. If you don't understand this, we will not be able to move forward, or you will not be able to move forward. And I keep moving. So that there are two parameters of importance. Is competitors' reactiveness and attractiveness to me. Let's say I want to get into a new business. Of course, every business has competition. Yeah, I want to get into electric, there is competition. I want to get into fast food, there is competition. I want to serve something else. I want to get into executive MBA program. There is competition all the time. So there are so many markets which are attractive to me. But in some markets, the competitor may not react with you. He is in some markets, in this market E, the competitor's reactiveness is very high. If you try entering that market, the competitor is going to really punch you hard because it's very dear market to them. But you enter this market B, the competitor's reactiveness is slow. Okay, you want to enter this market, it's okay, no problem. I am, let's say, I'm supplying school books for students. It's okay, you want to get into specialty on that school books business. It's okay, I don't mind if there is another player. That's not a primary market for me. So one is attractiveness and competitors' reactiveness, right? I think, isn't it getting a little hot? Yeah, if you don't mind, one of you, tell the security guy to bring it down a bit. And I'm just, okay, good. So look at these two markets. Look at these two markets. This is Procter & Gamble's reactiveness. This is Unilever's attractiveness. What does that mean? If Unilever decides to enter American personal care market, what is the reactiveness of Procter & Gamble? Very high. You try, Mr. Unilever, don't you dare enter American personal care market. I'm going to punch you very, very hard, because that is a market that's very dear to me. I make most money there. I have a great market share. I have carefully built that market with good branding and all that. So I'm not going to allow you to enter that. But let's say Unilever entires European food market. Procter & Gamble may have some 3%, 5% market share. I say it's okay. You want to enter that market. That market is not all companies want to be everywhere, right? We don't want to be all over the place. You try to please all, you will please no one. So you know which markets are good to me. So Unilever gets into European foods. Procter & Gamble says it's okay. Doesn't matter. I will not give it. So I hope you guys understand what is reactiveness and what is versus attractiveness. Poor guy, I sent him and I don't know. So one way of that fight is called onslaught. What is onslaught? He's coming. Huh? No, he's there now. So keep the door open. We'll manage it. Is the security? The security has gone off. Okay, so let's do it. So the 5 ways in which you fight, one is called onslaught. Onslaught, if you can read it, is heavy price cutting, heavy expenditure on marketing, advertising, promotion, everything that you will do to kill the competition. That's like carpet bombing. I don't know if you know what is carpet bombing. That is, you bomb the whole city because you're looking out for one person and you don't know where he is. So you virtually bomb it all over the place. Okay. So that is so onslaught happens all the time. Coca-Cola versus Pepsi is all the time battle for market share. Pepsi has got 49, Coca-Cola has got 51. They're fighting all the time. Sometimes one is the winner, sometimes other is the winner. That's what is happening all the time. One other good example of onslaught is Intel versus Samsung and all those things. Intel was actually a leader in DRAM chips. They were doing very well. In the 80s, they were doing very well. Then these Japanese manufacturers came into the market. When they came into the market, Intel started fighting with them for market share. Then Intel realized, oh my God, I can't fight these guys. These guys have ganged up together. They're reducing the price. They're really fighting hard for this market share. So what Intel decides is, okay, bye-bye. I'm getting out of this market. I'll go concentrate on some other market. I'm not going to be interested. So that is what happens in an onslaught. There is always a winner that will emerge out of it. And the other example is Wipro. Wipro, decided to enter the American banking, securities, and financial markets. And who was its competition? It was IBM and Accenture in America. So when Wipro entered, Accenture and IBM ganged up together and said, we got to fight. We're not going to allow Wipro to enter the market. And how did they do? They dropped margins. They reduced their pricing. They did everything to ensure that Wipro doesn't enter. But Wipro played along, and now Wipro has a sizable amount of market share. So you know what happens in an onslaught? An onslaught is when there is heavy price cutting, heavy marketing involved just to get into make sure that the winner doesn't. You look at what happened when Jio entered. When Jio entered, it was onslaught, virtually hitting every other competitor. Lots of marketing, putting up Modi's photo in the first ad, giving you huge 6 months price discounts and all that stuff just to ensure. And what happened? One winner and three companies dead. That's what happens. That's onslaught. Now, if that is scary, the next thing is a little more easier. Contest. Contest is something which is a little more nicer. It's not as complicated as onslaught, but it's more of technology. Contest is when you are perfectly able to identify the problem and how do you fight the problem. One is, you know what Warner Brother does, right? What does Warner Brother do? Production company. They produce some fabulous movies and they release them. And who makes the money? And beyond the distributors, who make the money? Mostly it's the DVD libraries which make the money, right? You release the movie and then the DVD is given. The library guy gives it to hundreds of people, one DVD going all around the place, and you end up watching it. So Warner Brothers said, we are putting in the money, we are putting in the effort, and we are not making money. Nobody is coming to the theaters. Everybody is sitting at home ordering. Was this group which taught me how to order between the 50th and the 20th over? I think this was not the group. I think the other group which said that IPL discounting, if you order the other section. So everybody is sitting in their homes, borrowing DVD from the library, and we are not making money. That's not fair. We have to make money. So that challenge is identified. The problem is identified. The competitor is identified. Then you come up with a technology solution. So what did Warner Brothers say? They started sitting with the DVD manufacturers and said, how can we reduce the price of the DVD? You borrow the DVD for $1. They did a lot of research and they were able to get DVDs out for $2. So now they come back and say, why do you want to pay $1 and rent the DVD? And you know what happened? The print is bad. It's gone 100 times. It's lost the thing. Pay $2 and have the DVD forever. Watch it whenever you want. So they identified a problem. They identified the challenge. They came up with a technology and were able to wipe out a distribution market. So that is the problem of onslaught as a way of handling competition. The third is called guerrilla campaign. What is guerrilla campaign? What is guerrilla war? What is guerrilla war? Hide and fight. So you're perfectly right. That's the other class wouldn't able to come up with such quick an answer. So You don't even know where the war is happening. You don't even know where your enemy is. You hide from behind or somebody and then fight. So anyway, these kind of examples are very rare because it takes years to identify this example. So in most of the textbooks, you will find this progressive car insurance as an example. But over the last couple of years, another very fine example has evolved, and that's a company called Haier. I don't know how many of you know Haier. Haier is a white goods company. What's a white good? Home appliances, air conditioning, and all those. It's a white good company. So Haier is a white good company out of China, and they wanted to enter the American market. Now, American market is a very controlled market. They'll never allow a new entrant to come in. They'll gang up. You know, Porter's five forces. They will not allow a new entrant to come in. They already made a big mistake 50 years back, 70 years back, when they allowed German automotive companies and Japanese automotive companies to end up and damage their own automotive sector, right? Virtually American automotive went through a bad trouble. So it is impossible for existing players to allow Haier to enter. And if you go to any mall or any retail outlet, the big guys have already bought the salesman. So you go and ask for some unique brand, or let's say I want some ultra television or something. The guy says, sir, don't buy these brands, buy LG, buy Samsung, because they're the salesman gets lots of incentive, but these guys make sure that the lower brands don't get any recognition. So Haier found it very, very difficult to even be visible to the customers, to potential customers. So how does Haier then enter the market? Haier found a very unique way of entering the market. If you know the American culture, they normally travel on holidays. They get into the car, they even tag a caravan, and they go on long journeys. They drive on the highways, and in between they stay in these small hotels which are called motels. Stay there overnight, hang on for a day, then go travel further. These are typically 3-4 star kind of hotels. They stay there and cheap. So what Haier did is they found something very interesting. Haier did is that they went to all these small hotels and told them, we'll supply you the air conditioner, we'll supply you the fridge, we'll supply you the television, and whatever is the other things. So every room started having a Haier TV, a Haier fridge, and a Haier air conditioner. So when these people went and stayed there, they noticed that, wow, this air conditioning hardly makes noise. This doesn't make noise because it's not working. That's a different problem. Okay. So it is. Oh my God, I totally lost track of it. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't make noise, and the television is so fabulous. The remote works good. The refrigerator is really cool. So potential customers will actually experience the product. So next time when the potential customer went to buy a product and they saw a Haier product somewhere in the corner, they were able to connect and say, wow, that's exactly the air conditioner that I enjoyed for 3 days. And imagine if it's working in a hotel, which is used by hundreds, kind of will definitely work at home. So by a guerrilla marketing campaign, Haier was able to get into a very, very complicated market and control it. So that is what is the story of the guerrilla campaign. The next story is about Feint. Again, I must tell you that these stories are not that evolved over 1 or 2 years. This takes a long time for these battles to happen. Now, Feint is like, I don't know, we used to say looking London, talking Tokyo to somebody who had a squint eyes, you know? Yeah, you know that, right? So in that sense, what it does is I will distract the competitor's attention elsewhere and I enter into a different market. Okay, that is what happens in a faint situation. There are lots of examples. Like, for example, there is an example of Adidas versus Nike. But what's possibly easier to explain is the Dell example. What Dell decided to do was to enter the PC market. Now, when Dell entered the PC market, the leaders in the PC market was HP and IBM. So HP and IBM got scared. Oh my God, how can we allow Dell enter into this market, which is very important to us? So they started fighting with Dell in every opportunity. Now Dell's intention itself was totally different. While it engaged HP and IBM in the PC market, they went and attacked the server market, which HP had lost concentration on. So that is what happens in a feint. In a feint, you get your competitor to focus elsewhere and go and hit him. These takes a long time for stories to build, but that's what happens. Finally, there is the last one, which is Gambit. What is Gambit? Gambit is one in which it's actually gambling. It's gambling in a very different sense, but not actually. Gambit is not the word. If you play chess, you actually give up one of your coins or one of your what do you call them? One of your people, the queen or the knight or anybody, for a bigger motive. So Gambit is the fight between Bic and Gillette. Now, Gillette is a leader in what do you call men's shaving products. Now, Bic also had a reasonably small market share in men's shaving products. Now, if you know Gillette and their strategy, how does Gillette make money? They make money not on the stick. They make money on the cartridge, right? Or the whatever the thing is. So they virtually give you the stick free, and every 3 months you keep buying the new cartridge, and the cartridges gets more expensive, and they even tell you throw it after 3 months, whatever. So they were making money. Now Big said, why don't we revolutionize or disrupt the market? So what they came up with, disposable razors. What is disposable razor? A plastic extrusion, keep two blades. It costs you $1, use it a couple of times and just throw it. So Big came in a big way. So everybody got excited about it. Everybody started to buy the Big product. Now Gillette got scared. I can't lose out on this market. I'm the leader of this market. So Gillette also started coming up with same disposable razors. Now, nobody is making money. Gillette was leading some luxurious life. They were making 300% margins on their product. And now they're just fighting with Big to fight on that market. And those good old days are all over. So they say, okay, Mr. Big, come, let's have drinks and dinner together. So they sit over and say, this is not correct. Both of us are fighting. Nobody is making money. What do we do? So Big said, Bolo, kya karna hai? Okay, so they said, okay, we'll do one thing. You exit the men's razor market. That's it. You completely exit. And we will exit in any other market that you are having a presence. There were some common markets that they were there. Gillette was doing a lot of products. And so the deal was done that Big will exit the men's razor business, and Gillette will exit. There was lighters and pens and whatever that huge markets were, they exited. So both are very happy. And immediately after the deal was signed, what did Gillette do? Stop their disposable blade production. They stopped it. They went back to that way of making money. So a gambit is one when each of the company gives up what is their key asset in the hope of becoming better in other markets. So that is one. And lastly, we have what is called a harvesting. What is harvesting? Harvesting is actually very simple. I used to struggle to explain harvesting. What is the time? 4, or maybe we're much ahead of time. So it was very difficult to explain harvesting before, but now it's very simple. Who invented the Covishield? AstraZeneca with Oxford. So they hold the market and they give permission to Serum Institute of India to manufacture it for Asian markets, give permission to somebody else to manufacture it for the European market. So harvesting is splitting the market in a geographical sense that you're not fighting with each other. Each of them will manage their own thing, right? So with this, we not only come to the end of this is each of it explained in a few sentences. And if you've understood the examples, I suggest you read these to be able to write. At the most, you will be asked what is define onslaught or define feint. So you might want to get this example. So that's it. I guess I'm mostly done, unless I have something else to share. Possibly one more, right? Stop share. Okay, so I'm done. Thank you very much. I guess if you can, this is the way you can connect to me sometime, and you know how to reach out to me. If any questions, this is the best time to ask. Otherwise, whenever we meet, we'll see you there. Okay, good. Oh no, I mean, you have even more brilliant professors doing it for you. I know. NR, yeah, that's my branding. That's right. You don't have them on all slides, right? You don't have them on slides. And I've also become smarter now. I'm no longer, you saw my Google form is now got a QR code. So I'm also learning to get better. Good. I enjoy teaching you all. I hope it was mutual. Yeah, and stay connected, and all the best. No, you have some fabulous lecturers coming in. Even more. You will enjoy some of the teachings from some of the real experts in the industry. They'll teach you, and yeah, good. So all the best, and make sure your assignments are uploaded. And yeah, great, Bopanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thanks. It was wonderful learning from you.
Thank you. I mean, it's been pleasure teaching you guys as well. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's been a pleasure teaching you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. And I think you guys have seen my face. I tried to switch on the camera. I'm possibly right now. I'll try to do that. So next time you see me, either in the campus or at Starbucks or at anywhere, make sure you come and say hello to me. Okay, that's a promise that you need to give me. Is that, yeah? Say I did that. Yeah.
A filter coffee at Basavanaguri is something we will do, Professor.
Yeah, correct. I'll just give you one. It's time for me to wind up with a small joke. Is that my name is Ramesh Nagasamudram, if you guys know it now, right? Ramesh Nagasamudram. So this is one of our students. I was standing somewhere and he walks in and says, Ramesh Nadaswaram. So I said, hey, okay, fair enough. I think so. He could, but at least he had a recall of the name and said, so good. So call me by any name as long as there's a Ramesh to it, but do make it a point to say hello to me. Okay, I think that's it. So good day and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
enjoyed the marketing lesson, sir. Thank you so much.
That was almost like a student, yeah. Who was that?
Me, sir, Sandhya.
It's an internet. Okay, what was that? Who was that lady speaking?
Sandhya, sir.
Yeah, hey, hi, Sandhya. Good. I hope you enjoyed the classes, huh?
Absolutely, sir. No doubt.
You are the one who is in marketing, right? In some way. I
No,
remember.
sir. No, sir. Absolutely not.
Where do you work?
Product development, sir.
Product development. Did we have some interesting discussion on the first class?
Yes, sir, we did. And then we also had some coffee, sir, last class.
Okay, good. Yeah, great. Okay, take care and all the best for your lives. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Are you not coming back?
No, sir. No. No, as I said, that's the only class I teach.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Are you happy about that?
Yes, sir. You're always energetic.
Okay. Good. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Thank you, Nalini. Thank you, Nalini.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I forgot to give you tips for it, no? Yeah, we stay connected. That's the only thing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How can you be that?
Everyone is looking. Something I will ask him. No, it is for studying, please eat some.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not.
Candyman to the school. Candyman. Oh. But trust me, if you have understood the concepts, you find
No, but I think I can relate back to the explanation. So as soon as I give a reading, I could imagine myself.
Read. Just a day before the exam. Yeah, do you want to take a photo? Or in mind, then I can post it. Then I'll do the post. Yes. Right. It's okay.
I am getting covered. कहाँ पे जाएंगे यार?
Yeah, there, everybody. Yes. Perfect. Sure. Yes, we're all looking at the. Okay, we're looking at Tirupati for better results. Because everyone should go on. Correct. Now this is better. Yeah, this is. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let me post it right away. Good one? Yeah. Correct. Now you say हो जाएगा. What's your business? Good. Okay, done. Okay. Bye. Thank you. Yes, sir. Next time is somewhere else. What are your exams? Thank you.
7 people. 7. Bye, sir.
Bye.
Still 4 participants, active participants. Just pass recording option.